Hey y'all, Creations by Courtney here with an update to the embossed wedge stitch. Now I know the original one was from 2 years ago and I chose purple, my favorite color, not thinking about how poorly it showed up, but I appreciate everyone that has watched and liked that video as it was. But here we are with an update. The written tutorial can be found at my website, creationsbycourtney.com. If you would like to have that up to follow along, I will be using a worsted weight yarn. This color is called Breathe. It doesn't show so great, but it's actually like a pale rose pink kind of color. And I will be using my matte gold Furls Metal Streamline in a size K. This is a lovely worsted weight yarn, super smooth, but with this stitch, because of the clusters, a bigger hook just makes it easier to work with. So we're going to start with a multiple of 4 plus 2 if you're doing a chain. So here I have 26. If you would like to start with a row of foundation stitches, this is what it looks like. This, you will need a multiple of 4 plus 1. So this is 25 stitches here. We have a chain of 26. But I'm going to show you how to do this with one color. And if you check the description below, I have some patterns linked featuring this awesome stitch. So yeah, if once you have made your chain stitch, we're going to start in the third chain from the hook, right? So that's 1, 2, 3. I always like to work into the back loop. I'm going to do a row of half double crochets. But make a half double crochet in each chain until you get to the end, and then we will turn the work. All right, once you've gotten to the end of the row, you should have 25 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Don't forget to count the first 2 chains that we skipped, because this does count as a half double crochet throughout the pattern. So we are going to turn our work, and this is where the fun begins. So you will chain 2. Again, this counts as a half double crochet, and this is the first stitch of the row below. We're going to work around this to make the first cluster, and a cluster is a front post double crochet, front post treble crochet, and a front post double treble crochet together around this post. Okay, so you're going to yarn over, insert your hook from, so if this were a stitch here, you would go front to back to front, but since we're working around the end, you just want to come from behind to the front. You're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops, right? Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is your front post double crochet. Now we're going to make our front post treble. You're going to yarn over 2 times, working around the same stitch, the post of the same first stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 times. Okay, now for a double treble, that's 3 yarn overs. Again, working around that first stitch, you pull up a loop. You have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so it is okay if it flops like this, because yeah, it's a whole cluster. Let me remove the hook. So this is the cluster, our double treble, treble, and double crochet, and these are all front post stitches since we are working around a post. So this is the top of the first stitch, which is represented by the chain 2. It kind of hides. That's okay. We'll come back to it. Oops. And hopefully don't accidentally frog your work. That's why I should keep the hook on. So we're going to skip this one, and now we're going to do not count this stitch. We're going to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to half double crochet into the next stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, this is what we have so far. This is the first cluster in the first half double crochet. Well, second, because we did our chain 2 here. And we're just going to repeat that until the end. We're going to make another cluster. Again, we work on the row below, which gives us the space to make all of these, to make the cluster. So you want to make sure that you use the right stitch of the row below. So you want to make sure that there's 3 in between the stitches, the stitch that you worked around in the next one, right? So you're going to skip 3, all 3 stitches. So we start our cluster, again, working around because we're making front post. So back to front to, no, back, front to back to front. There we go. We make our front post double crochet. Now our front post treble crochet. And now our double treble. Again, that's 3 yarn overs. All right, now we have our second cluster made. Again, if you need to turn your work so you can see, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches and make a half double crochet in this stitch. Now we have 2, and we're just going to repeat that to the end. And when you get to the end, don't forget to make your half double crochet into the last stitch, which is that first chain 2 that we had skipped with the foundation row. So just like that. So we have our first row. So what I love about this, when you kind of look at the back side, it almost looks like a little cup, right? And this is the little wedge, right? And we have 6 because we're using a multiple of 4 and we started with 25 stitches. So that accounts for the half double crochet at the beginning of the row. And we're just going to repeat row 2, right? So you chain 2, you make your first cluster around the first half double crochet of the row below. Again, you're going to skip 3 stitches. So here's the funny thing about half double crochets compared to some of the other stitches is that the top loop actually hangs off to the side if you're right-handed. So for me, it's off to the left. If you are a left-handed crocheter, it'd be hanging off to the right. So this here is the half double crochet. This is the top of it. So when you make your half double crochet and you're skipping your 3, 1, 2, 3, that is actually the top of the cluster, right? Here's the double crochet, treble, and double treble, right? So we're going to skip these 3 and work into the half double crochet. So half double crochets are always worked into half double crochets. Okay. And then again, if you need to, kind of pull the stitches apart so that you can easily find the column, the stitch in order to work around. So we'll make our next cluster. And then again, 1, 2, 3, you skip and you make your half double crochet into the next stitch, which will always be the top of the half double crochet the row below. So continue until you get to the end, and then I'll show you to make sure you put your last half double crochet in the right spot. Once you've made your last cluster, don't forget to make your half double crochet, okay? And again, this is where it makes a difference to know which way that you turn your work so you know where to insert your hook, okay? So these are the 2 chains that represent a half double crochet, okay? You want to make sure you're not catching that first stitch from the row below, so it's this space here. So from this side, I like to try to actually catch the top loops of the chain like so. But you can set your hook any way that you prefer. And there we go. We have 2 rows. And it's literally the same on both sides. Now, what is tricky about this, especially when using it for a larger project, because we're working the row below, it does not get that tall. Yes, the cluster itself, let's see, I actually have a ruler handy. So with this hook, right, so if we measure, right, the top of the stitch to like the bottom, it's about 1 inch tall. But if we look at the back side, right, if we go from the top of the previous row, really it's the height of a half double crochet, and it's a smidge under half inch, okay? So when you are working a larger project, it's just not going to grow in length really fast compared to other things because we're working the row below. But that's what creates this really cool like 3D texture. And again, it's almost like a little cup, right? It's like a little bowl, so to speak, right? So let's make a few more rows, and then I'll show you how I like to finish a section of this. It's just really a row of half double crochet. So we'll come back after having made a few rows. Like I said, it doesn't grow a lot, but it is such a fun stitch. It makes such a great squishy fabric, even in worsted weight. This is not stiff at all, especially with like the space that we have between the stitches. So you can leave it as is, right? And it kind of gives you a distinct look if you make this your right side where you see a little bit along the top, or if you may want this to be your right side. Again, it's the same on both sides, but one way to finish this off, if you want, is to just do a row of half double crochet. And honestly, my preference is a loose chain one, and then I make the half double crochet when I'm finishing off the stitch. And you just work your way across. And that's all there is to the embossed wedge stitch. I hope you found this easier to follow since this is in a lighter color. But yeah, so it just gives you a nice finished look. Hope you enjoy that, and that you'll stay tuned with my channel for future tutorials, unboxings, fiber fashion stylings, and anything else I come up with. I don't know. I have so many ideas. We'll see what happens. But I will see y'all soon. Keep stitching.